Welcome to Behind the Design from Yaletown to Andmar. This new podcast is going to follow the journey of the new development, Andmar, inspired by Vancouver's Yaletown's history. Andmar blends sustainability, innovation, and luxury. We have so many conversations about how a development like Andmar gets built, what is lease land, and what is it going to be like to live in this thriving community. So let's get started. Welcome back to Behind the Design, Andmar's new Yaletown. Really excited to have some special guests on the podcast. We have Kate, who has actually bought in Andmar, so I'm really excited to talk to her about that whole process. We got Danny Craig, who lives in Chilliwack and is part of a band that you might know of, Default. We're going to dive into that in a second. But the topic we're talking about today is very important, is the housing market, something that everybody likes to talk about. I was reading a recent stat that most young Canadians, only 1 in 5 think that they're going to actually buy a home in Canada. And so that is not a very big number at all. To be honest, though, I do rent, and I am quite a little bit older than Kate, but eventually I hope to own. Danny owns his home in Chilliwack, but again, had to take a road to get there. He just didn't get a house overnight, but wanted to have this very important discussion on how Andmar is kind of opening the door for those first-time home buyers, but not only that, creating a community and building on the community that Kate and Danny already love to live in. So let's get down to it. I want you guys to tell us a short little bio about yourself. We'll start with Kate first. Who are you?
Yeah, I'm Kate. I have grown up in Chilliwack and work in Chilliwack, and you recently, just bought my home in Andmar, and I'm super excited and looking forward to moving in. Spend a lot of time outside in Chilliwack, and we have such amazing recreation, and just really looking forward to living in Andmar in the community. Mm-hmm.
There you go. And do you work around there, and what do you do?
Yeah, so I am an education assistant, and I work for the Chilliwack School District.
Nice. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay, Danny, I kind of let in a little bit, but take it away. Tell us about you and why you live in Chilliwack.
Well, I am a longtime musician and audio engineer, and a more recent home automation and security and AV representative. So I work with a company called Grey Tech, and the company is actually based in Coquitlam, and I mostly work in Vancouver, yet I live all the way out here in Chilliwack. But that being said, I moved my family out here 6 years ago, and we were in Cloverdale area before that. And we came out here really for just to get a little more space. And after driving out here the first time, I had to convince my wife first, let's go look in Chilliwack. Oh, Chilliwack, that's pretty far. Anyway, when we drove out here the first time, we just fell in love with the way, the scenery. Like, you're right in the bowl of the mountains here in Chilliwack, like at the edge of the valley. So it's the scenery is so cool, so much better than anywhere else in the Lower Mainland in terms of how close you are to it all, right? So, and like Kate mentioned too, lots of outdoor recreation, lots of space. It's great.
And it's funny because when I first met Danny and found out that he was part of Default, I said, do all people that were in the music industry live out there in Abbotsford and Chilliwack? Because I know that, like, people from Nickelback live out there. So I was like, it just must be the place to be. And again, it's probably because it's that picturesque postcard. You're away from the city and you get to do all the fun things and kind of be normal a little bit. Put in the rock star life on hold.
Well, and you can get a little more land out this way. It's hard to get 20 acres in Vancouver, that's for sure.
Very true. And you have something in common with Kate, actually. Your wife is also an EA as well in that district.
That's right. Yeah. She really loves the people she works with, and even she had did her education out here too at I believe it's the Sprott Shaw in downtown Chilliwack there. So Yeah, she's really happy living out here and has made a lot of great friends. And so have all, I've got 3 kids as well. I suppose I should have said that in the intro, but I've got twin boys that are 18 and a 13-year-old daughter, and they've all really taken well to the area and made a lot of new great friends. And yeah, it's been good.
Oh, awesome. Okay, let's talk about some housing. First, so Kate, you bought an Andmar. When is it supposed to complete? That's always a question everyone loves to ask.
Yeah, so I think it's finishing, or move-in is the end of June. Actually, no, sorry, July of 2026. So I have a little bit of time, but it's really given me a chance to kind of gather. I live at home with my parents, so get some things of my own and do that do it gradually over a period of time. So, yeah.
And I did hear from Tracey that your sister also bought in Andmar as well.
Yeah, actually, my brother and my sister. Oh. Yeah, so we all bought an Andmar, which is really exciting. And we're all first-time home buyers. So,
There you go. Give us the dirt. Are you gonna want to live in the same building as your siblings?
Yeah, we're all on different floors.
Oh, good.
So that'll give us some space. But it was just such a great opportunity, and we all really want to stay in Chilliwack. So we all were really excited to buy there.
I thought you were going to all be like, yeah, we bought the 3 right beside each other. We're all neighbors.
No.
Gonna knock down walls and stuff.
Yeah, my brother's, he's definitely happy that he's on a different floor than his 2 sisters.
There you go. And usually with the new buildings, you have to fob to each floor. So that's a good way to keep your siblings at a distance, right?
For sure, yeah.
Awesome. And so when you guys were thinking about this, did you ever feel that maybe you would have to move out of Chilliwack or move out of BC, or be a renter your whole life, which is not a bad thing either. I know a lot of people that rent as well. I just want to put that out there. I'm not putting renters down. But did you ever think like home ownership was out of reach?
Oh, for sure. Yeah, and definitely I didn't think it was a possibility at this point in my life. Yeah, and had kind of been looking at the market, but yeah, definitely thought that I would have to move outside of Chilliwack for sure, which I'm so happy that I can stay in Chilliwack because I really love my job and have lots of friends here and family, and so yeah, I really was considering elsewhere for sure due to pricing and housing affordability. Mm-hmm.
So how did you find out about Andmar, and how did you feel like, oh, that's the fit, that's right for me?
Yeah, so I'd heard of other developments that the developers had done, and have a couple of friends who live in Skynest and I think Inglewood as well. And so have heard really positive feedback, and then that they were going to do another development that wasn't a retirement development. And so I looked into that as soon as I saw advertising, and yeah, hearing positive feedback really made me confident in the decision and in the developers for sure.
Nice. And hearing all this, Danny, do you feel hopeful for your children? Because I'm sure they're 18 right now and maybe they'll travel the world for a bit. But are you always worried that maybe it's not just necessarily Chilliwack that they'll be able to own anywhere? Or they're living with you forever?
Well, the thought has occurred to me, not just that they would be with me forever. I mean, luckily we have pretty good kids, so we don't mind if they stick around. But no, that thought had occurred to me, like, what if they had to move out to, Vernon or Armstrong or something like that, something quite far away from the Lower Mainland, just to be able to afford a place. But yeah, that being said, I mean, hopefully they're able to find something, like if they start building more with that starter person in mind, and kind of keep that theme going with a few more communities like this one. Yeah, that shines a little light on the situation for sure. I mean, you got to start somewhere, right? You got to get in with something, and then your equity can start growing, and you can get in the market, right?
And Kate, Just clarify, is it a one bedroom?
I bought a studio.
Or a studio?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
But that's still a good foot in the door. Like.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I know they're like Andmar is doing other buildings, and so I'm like, oh, maybe further down the road, other phases, I could buy a one bedroom, but just a studio to start.
But then again, gets your foot in the door, and then you can always trade up from there too.
Yeah, absolutely.
But again, Andmar was such a great step, and I'm glad that more developers are doing that, and they saw that in Chilliwack. Like, I know that's Mark's passion. One of the co-founders of Andmar, he really wants to have a place where people can buy their first home and trade up and eventually like get to their next step of living. And he also wants to make it a really fun place. Like, Chilliwack's already a great community, and he wants to build onto it. So another thing that they're having besides getting your foot in is a lot of services that you would see somewhere like a Yaletown in Vancouver. They have co-working spaces. I know Nature's Fair has already come in as a grocery store. They're going to have different chain restaurants. They want to even maybe have breweries. They want to have spaces for artists and musicians to get their start. And Danny, I know like you are a really successful musician, and I know your band also probably started off playing pubs and clubs and things like that. How important is it to have spaces that welcome musicians in and inspire young musicians to kind of learn their craft?
Yeah, I would say hugely important. I came up in the late '90s in the local scene anyway, right? And there was, there was easily 4 or 5 times as many venues then as there are now. And I've actually been saying it for a long time. I feel like Vancouver's pushing its, artistic community kind of out because no one can afford to live there. So unless you're rich. So it's going to have to end up somewhere. So it's great to see, if some venues are coming in, places that just that musicians can play at and art can be viewed at. And it's obviously, hugely important for culture and to have Canada represented, worldwide with art and music. So yeah, it would be it's a shame that so many have disappeared. So obviously with plans like this to have support in there for that, I think that's great.
I really think it's important. I think, like you said, artistic communities are disappearing, and I don't think it's just Vancouver. It's in major cities because people can't afford. Because usually when you're an artist, unless you reach a certain level, you're probably not going to be able to afford to stick around. And it's really, art is the fabric of life. Like, not to get like really deep, but it is.
But you're right, yeah.
You can't just have buildings where people live and no spaces to hang out. And for you, Kate, you and your friends probably have gone to Vancouver or other neighboring cities like Quillam or, maybe a little closer like Maple Ridge or even Mission to go have food, drinks, nightlife, to go to different kind of type of coffee shops, movies. Probably nice to now have a lot of things where you live, where you could just take the elevator down and walk out the door and meet your friends.
Yeah, absolutely. It's really exciting, and I'm really looking forward to it. Even the shopping, I've heard of different stores in there, like Lululemon. I've heard of Ritzia, and different restaurants. I think maybe the Keg or Cactus Club, but it's super exciting. I have friends who aren't in the housing market yet, but they're talking about Andmar and how it's going to be so amazing for the community and such a hub for Chilliwack. So, yeah.
And it's not to get in the car, and it's not just necessarily going in the car to go do nightlight stuff. It's also going in the car to do other things like grocery shopping or shopping, like you mentioned, clothing stores. It's nicer to have them within it so you don't have to drive so far. And Kate, do you own a car?
I do own a car, but I'm definitely looking forward to, driving to work, doing that short commute, and then, being able to do my grocery shopping, or there's, I think, a pharmacy's going in and all those things. I think just the convenience of that is going to be amazing.
And Danny, I know you do have a car because you do sales, so you're going to need one regardless. But wouldn't it be nice that you could go to a community like Andmar with the kids and your wife for the day, go to restaurants, walk around to the shops, don't have to drive a far distance into the next suburb to do that?
It would only be about a 20-minute walk home, I think. So, I could.
You could go to the breweries when they get them in there.
It's really quick to get the kids to come pick me up. That's for sure.
There we go. And then another thing I like too is eventually they're going to put in other buildings that have different ages in it as well. And so their whole thing is that it's something that we're talking about all the time is mixing ages. Everyone felt so segregated before, but now I think everyone's realizing that we need everybody to build a community. And during COVID, when seniors were maybe excluded a little bit because we were worried about getting them sick, it really hurt some of our community building. And it's interesting because one of the solves for the housing market I've heard in other places and around the world news is that some of these senior centers, they're actually having students that are going to university and stuff rent rooms there that are vacant, because in that way the seniors get company and then the students learn from them. And they always interview these kids that do it, and they said it's just such a great lively thing, and the seniors love it because they have young energy. So I think it's really nice that they're putting different buildings of different ages in there to really have a mixed use community.
Yeah, that's super awesome. I know what you're talking about, and yeah, amazing.
Well, that's the thing is a lot of people don't realize, and I hear this all the time, and I've lived in smaller towns to do my career, how great small towns actually are to live in. A lot of people at first are like, no, but then they get in them and realize like they're really great because you do have that sense of like meeting anyone and like talking on the street or like, pouring a cup of sugar. I don't think anyone does that anymore, but like it's not as like, you live in major cities, and the biggest complaint that I hear is like, you don't know your neighbors. I know my neighbors, but most people don't know their neighbors. So I think I tell everyone, I said, try it, go live in a small town. Like, I think you'll be better for it. So I'm really excited that you guys have found your place in Chilliwack. Any advice that you think, Kate, that you would give to young prospective buyers looking to find their first place?
Something that was really helpful for me was I booked an appointment and went and spoke with Tracey, the development representative, and she was just really able to answer all of my questions. And I had lots, being a first-time home buyer, and it was just really helpful to have that in-person conversation. And I brought my list of questions, and so I would definitely suggest that. And yeah.
And I think that's a great thing is you had a list of questions. A lot of people don't think about that. It's like, have these questions no matter what development you're going to, especially if you buy pre-sale, really make sure you know what you're buying and how it works. We've done other conversations on this podcast about what is lease land. That's probably a question that you had as well. Make sure you listen to that episode if you want to hear all about lease land. But that's the thing is you have to have the right people in your corner when you buy something. You can't just buy it willy-nilly. And that being said, Danny, for young people, I know it's been a while since you bought, but for young people thinking about getting into the market, what advice would you have for them?
I think education is a big part of it. Before I bought my first house, I did something similar, and I attended a seminar that was put on by a realtor, a mortgage broker, a lawyer, and a home inspector. And so the four of them got together and put a seminar on, and my wife and I attended that, and we hired everybody from that seminar to help us out. So yeah, I think education is huge. And then of course, make sure you're taking advantage of any government incentives, right? Like, I don't know if they still do the CMHC, the 5% for your first time. You can have 5% down, I guess, on your first time home type thing.
Yeah. And then there was, I can't remember what it's called now. I think First Home Buyers Savings Account or something like that.
Yeah.
That's new. So that's a really great opportunity as well, for sure. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'd say take advantage of all that if you can, and, save.
And I know your kids aren't there yet, but what are your hopes for your kids or other people's kids thinking of getting into the market in the future?
Yeah, well, I mean, it's tough, hey? 20s is often when you're having some fun. So to really think about responsibilities and stuff. I mean, Kate, congratulations for getting there, because Yeah, I mean, I think there's a balance. Of course, I'd want them to enjoy themselves and have a good youth, but if they can muster the discipline to be able to put the kind of money aside and the focus and education that they would need to get into a place early and work hard early to ideally be mortgage free at a younger age, then I would encourage them, right?
But I was like, wow, Kate's so put together compared to us.
I think she probably is. I don't know many people in their 20s that are doing that.
But everyone should be kind to themselves too. Maybe they're not going to get there in their 20s like Kate did. Maybe they're not going to get in their 20s like Danny did. But if you want it, it is attainable. It just maybe it's going to take you a little longer than someone else. And there are some great opportunities like Andmar out there. I think sometimes we get down on ourselves and we're like, oh, well, I'm this age and I don't own yet, or I don't have this yet, or I'm not this way. But, not to sound critical, I think everything happens for a reason. It happens at the right time for you.
Yeah, everyone's priorities are a little different too, right? So, you want to, like you say, stay true to yourself and stick to what's going to serve you best, right?
Yeah. So, because this is a great development that's going on here, what do you hope for the future of Chilliwack?
Yeah, well, I think with the development, like more community space, an area that can really be the hub of Chilliwack. I think definitely with, the housing, but also the opportunity for like live bands and farmers markets, things like that will really bring huge opportunities for community. Yeah.
How do you think a development like Andmar will help shape the future of Chilliwack?
I think a lot of having opportunity for a lot of young people to maybe move into Chilliwack, just with the more affordable housing. So I really think that maybe we'll see an influx of young people and people moving from out of town into Chilliwack. Yeah.
I think I would agree with that. Because you, as a young person in Chilliwack, you can think about staying here and starting your family here. Whereas usually young people in like Vancouver, they're just living there temporarily until they want to start their family. Then they're going to come out to Chilliwack. So, I think it would be of great benefit because people would establish roots early and ultimately build their families here and just that and make it a community after all. And it is one.
It's a community, and maybe you can get the band to play at Andmar. You should be like the opening, the ribbon cutting.
What's the budget? That's the big question.
We'll talk to Mark about that one. One more thing before we go. What do you love about living in the Chilliwack area?
For me, I think it's just not having to compromise on having great amenities and also having outdoor recreation. I think it really is the best of both worlds. And then I can also drive into Vancouver or the city if I need to, and it's just a day trip away. It's really not having to compromise on having outdoor space and then amenities.
There we go. That was a great answer. Now poor Danny has to answer next. No, you're not allowed to take her answer either.
Not allowed to agree. Yeah.
No.
I know. I do. I think the same thing, but I'll caveat too that I do feel like it's just a little more chill in Chilliwack. I grew up in Langley, and even when I go back to Langley, it is just so rammed there now that it's you can't get anywhere. It's just it's insane, right? So I feel a relief when I pass the Sumas area and get into Chilliwack. I'm like, I can breathe again. So I think that's a big part of it, and the scenery, as I mentioned earlier. The scenery is just different once you get out past Abbotsford, into Chilliwack here. Past to the point where you can even see Mount Baker because the other mountains are too close, right? You can't even see it from here. So
I think that's the thing I'm taking away from this whole podcast is it's more chill in Chilliwack.
It's in the name.
I've never heard that before, but I'm sure, is that something that you guys say all the time in Chilliwack, or no? Did you just make that up now?
I don't know. I wouldn't.
I've heard that before. Yeah.
There you go. Good.
I never thought. That seems good. I feel like that should just be the slogan for Chilliwack. It's more
For
chill
sure.
in Chilliwack.
Yeah.
Love it. Thank you guys so much for coming on today. Really appreciate this. Was a fun conversation, and we'll see you next time.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us on Behind the Design from Yaletown to Andmar. We've explored the history, innovation, and sustainability that makes Andmar more than just a community. It's a place where life, business, and connection thrive. If you've been inspired by this podcast, we'd love your support. Follow the podcast, rate it, and leave a review to help others discover what makes Andmar so special. Till next time.